May of 1968, 144 members from the Illinois National Guard's Quincy-based unit left for Vietnam. They were the only Illinois unit deployed. WGM's Sydney Lyerly has the story of that unit, how they worked and lived together despite being from totally different walks of life.
To this day, the members of the 126th Supply and Service Company love their country, and they love reminiscing on their time in Vietnam.
Oh, say does that star.
Members of the 126th Supply and Service Company and their wives try to gather when they can. They enjoy meals together and swap stories from Vietnam.
Every one of us here has something to say about it, you know, whether it was good or bad. A lot of times it may have been bad because, you know, we were a long ways from home.
In 1968, 144 members of the unit found themselves on their way to Vietnam. They came from very different walks of life. Some were farmers, lawyers, salesmen, some were married, and some were barely 18. Regardless of their differences, they had to work and live together.
And we all cohesed together. We did our job when we got there.
The unit was in Vietnam for a year. During that time, Waters says he got to know his fellow members well. They lived in close quarters and faced many dangerous situations together.
At times we were hit with rocket fire, mortars, and that's when we did what we were supposed to do, get to the bunkers for protection.
The unit eventually became known as the Hallmark Company. To this day, they still carry that name. 144 members traveled to Vietnam, and all 144 returned to Illinois. Since then, Waters says the unit gathers whenever possible. They've lost 73 members over the years, but Waters says those who remain still love sharing a meal, remembering their service, and honoring those they have lost. Another member of the unit tells me the opinions on Vietnam veterans has shifted over the years. He says when they first arrived home, they didn't speak about their time in Vietnam for fear of negative reactions. Now he says that has changed, and they share their stories whenever they can.
All members from the unit lived in the tri-state area at the time, and many still do today.